Hello aspirants, looking at current affairs for 16th December. The 7 news items which we have picked up from the Hindu are these. The first one, Supreme Court warns BCCI Chief of Prosecution. So you must be aware of the Lodha panel which has been set up by the Supreme Court suggesting reforms on BCCI, and after the Lodha panel gave its recommendations, the Supreme Court has upheld all the recommendations given, almost all the recommendations given by it, and has asked BCCI to implement them. And Lodha panel is overseeing even the implementation by BCCI, and Lodha panel has now suggested that the present setup, the office bearers of BCCI are making the implementation of reforms difficult. So the new office bearers should be appointed, and for that even BCCI recommendation is that no politician should be office bearer in BCCI, and BCCI president himself, Mr. Anurag Thakur, he is BJP MP too. So now the question is that Lodha panel is asking Anurag Thakur to step down, but he is not ready to. He also went ahead and asked the International Cricket Council ICC chairman Mr. Shashank Manohar to provide a letter. So the letter in the sense that under International Cricket Council, the government is not allowed to intervene in sports authorities because they have to be independent sports bodies. So this Supreme Court's intervention here should be taken as intervening in the independence, going against the independence of sport bodies, and such a letter should be provided by ICC. So that was his request, but then such a letter did not come forth and this news came forth. So that is going against him. Supreme Court says that BCCI president is prima facie guilty of contempt of court, trying to go against the order of the court. Rather than implementing it, he is trying to find ways out. So it's threatening that you will face criminal prosecution now. So let's see what happens further in this matter. But the entire thing, the court has said that as per Lodha panel recommendations, he should step down because these office bearers presently are obstructing reforms. So he is obstructing reforms, he should step down. So again, with threat, Supreme Court is taking the matter forward. So this is regarding Lodha panel 2, the top 10 recommendations listed out here just for revision again. So no office bearer, BCCI office bearer can be minister or government servant. No BCCI office bearer can hold 2 posts simultaneously. Limited autonomy for IPL governing council. So in IPL only the scam had come forth and the Supreme Court was hearing the matter, and in that process it also set up this Lodha panel to provide overall reforms in the functioning of the BCCI. So separate governing bodies for IPL, BCCI, 3-year tenure for all office bearers and only maximum 3 terms. Then one state, one association, because we see there are multiple associations to, institution related like railways, etc. also have cricket associations. So now it says there should be one association, one state with right to vote, one vote. So that way. So ethics officer should be there. So these are the major recommendations. Then the next news item is Supreme Court bans liquor vends on national state highways. So this is regarding the Supreme Court order because of the high number of road accidents which take place in India. So many people, it has one of the highest fatality rates. So accidents do take place and number of people killed is also high. So that is why it is required to take initiatives on this matter, and number of accidents on national and state highways is the maximum as you can see here. So that is why it is required that steps are taken. So Supreme Court presently has given an order that all states and union territories should end licensing to all liquor shops, sale of liquor which happens along national and state highways, not just along them but even at a distance of 500 meters on the outer edge of the highways. So in service lanes also it should not be allowed. So this is its recommendation. It also said that no advertising also should take place on liquor on the highways. So this should be implemented by March 2017, next financial year. But after that it would not renew any license given to any liquor shop which is there on these highways. So it has given the chief secretaries and state police 1 month's time to chalk out a plan how they would enforce this judgment. So this of course is again against liquor. So of course number of accidents as they happen are quite high, and the maximum number of accidents are due to overspeeding too. So this you can see the fatality rates. Around 4.5 lakh road accidents is in 2014. In present data, it says that around 1.5 lakh people die every year in accidents. So So it's 1.4 lakh deaths in 2014, approximately that only. In 2016, now the data is 1.5 lakh. So this, you can see the number of accidents maximum reported. They are reported in urban as well as rural areas. So all these accident rates are quite high. Fatality rates. Major causes, you can see again. Overspeeding is the maximum in maximum cases. Dangerous, careless driving, overtaking results in accidents. Poor weather conditions is one effect. Driving under alcohol, drugs, that is having a minor share too. But then it may help in reducing, because even in such a matter, if 1.5 lakh accidents are happening, then 2.6% of that also is reduced. One way initiative taken to reduce it is welcome, because in terms of numbers, this is huge number of deaths. So of course, more actions are also required to undertake checks on highways about overspeeding, overtaking, etc. Then the next news item is Gujarat government clears ordinance to ban hookah bars in state. So this is Gujarat government's ordinance. So with this ordinance, it has amended COPPA. So this is Cigarettes and Other Tobacco Products Prohibition of Advertisement and Regulation of Trade and Commerce Act. So this Act of 2003 is a national act. Presently, the Gujarat government has initiated an ordinance which will amend provisions under this, so that even hookah bars come under its purview. So this will require even the central government's approval, because if it's an amendment to a central act, then that aspect is also required president's approval. But presently it has been initiated as an ordinance by the Gujarat governor as such. So governor initiates, it's called promulgates ordinances. So this, already there is an initiative which had been taken. So in Ahmedabad city, hookah bars were banned, but this was struck down by the Supreme Court in 2014. And right now they have banned it throughout the state. So we'll see how it goes forward. This is regarding COPPA Act of 2003 too. It quite often comes in news because of tobacco consumption also being high. So various sections and various provisions are listed out. Prohibits smoking in public places, prohibits advertisement of cigarettes and other tobacco products. So in such cases, we see that there is surrogate advertising to which takes place. So it's for some other commodity, but they're trying to, like in generally it takes place in case of liquor. So advertisement for cigarettes and other tobacco products is completely prohibited. Prohibits sale of cigarettes and to people below 18 years of age. Then section 6b prohibits within the educational institutions premises, so like within a radius of 100 yards from educational institutions, no sale of tobacco products, cigarettes should take place. And finally, one more important section is it prohibits sale of cigarettes and tobacco products without the label of specified warning. So even that warning label, proportion has increased. So it can cause cancer. You must have generally seen in those products. So this pictorial depiction also, that is also being implemented now under this COPPA Act of 2003. Then the next news item is Supreme Court upholds IAF decision to sack airmen for sporting beard. So this is a case in which a Muslim officer was sacked. And this sacking was done on the ground that he was denied permission to grow a beard. Still he grew a beard. And when he was sacked, he approached the judiciary. And the case presently has come before the Supreme Court, and Supreme Court has upheld the decision of the Armed Forces. So it says that Armed Forces Regulation Act of 1964 prohibits that you cannot grow a beard on such religious symbols unless the religion makes it compulsory. It prohibits you from shaving off or something like that. So this is not the case in Islam, because in Sikhs, keeping a beard is compulsory. It's mandatory in the religion, but in Islam, it is only desired. It is not mandatory. So this is the point on which the order was struck down. This officer, Mr. Zubair, he claimed that he had fundamental right to freedom of religion. So under this, I should be having independence to right to profess my religion, to follow my religion. But then this was struck down. It said that there is precedence over armed forces having, uniformity. So there is a need for uniformity. It says dress and deportment policy, which is there in the armed forces. It requires that there is uniformity in the entire personnel which are part of the armed forces. So that attains precedence over fundamental rights. So one more exception is there. One point is that Defense Ministry in 2003 had given a notification. It clarified that Muslim personnel who sport a beard along with a mustache at the time of commissioning, So at that point of time means this was prior to Jan 2002. So they are allowed to retain. So if you are already in office, in service, and you have already had a beard, that was till 2002, post 2003 even this is not allowed. So they were allowed to retain them. So now this is religion taking precedence only if religion makes it mandatory, but if it is desirable then it is not allowed. So even there is one more point, that Article 33 of the Constitution. So it restricts when fundamental rights of armed forces personnel. So of course then under this two restrictions can be imposed, but then discrimination amongst religions is the point in question here. So anyway, this is the Supreme Court's order. The next article is fine-tuning education for society's youngest. So we have been seeing articles on education over the week now. So today's article on education in the Hindu, the special articles which it is publishing. In this article now it is talking about early childhood care and education. So you know, right to education is a fundamental right now under Article 21A. The RTE Act has also been implemented in 2009. Since 2009 it is in effect. So it provides free and compulsory education to children 6 to 14 years of age. So what about before that? So 0 to 6 years of age, that is called early childhood care. So early childhood education. So this early childhood care and education is this aspect which is also taken care of through ICDS. So this is the government scheme, Integrated Child Development Services. This is in effect since 1975. So under this ICDS there are various components, and one of them is of course education. So early childhood education. So health, nutrition, various aspects are undertaken under this Integrated Child Development Services. It takes care of the mother of the newborn child and as well as the newborn child. So this ICDS, even with the help of Anganwadi workers, is implemented throughout. So presently about early childhood care and education, there is already a policy, national policy in place since 2013. So there are number of children in this 0 to 6 years age group, and the early childhood education takes place either in Anganwadis. So Anganwadis are there in regions where government sets up these. Generally it's there in rural areas where they can study there, and also takes place in private institutions. So even schools start pre-primary education, and also there are independent primary educational institutions. So early childhood education takes place here. But then the article highlights that this early childhood education does not emphasize on conceptual functioning, cognitive foundation of a person. Cognition means your brain development as such, that how cognition takes place. That is important rather than emphasizing on letters and numbers and reading and writing. So that is where even early childhood education emphasizes. It should be rather on developing, because this is the foundational years. So this has long-term physical and mental health consequences. So this is the time when the child's lifelong development can take place through efficient foundation. So here there is a change required, which is seen focus on reading, writing, arithmetic is there in public schools, private schools, and even in Anganwadis and private institutions. So this needs to change. So that is one point highlighted. Also another is regarding qualification of teachers in such pre-primary schools, the training level which is given to them. So that is questionable. And finally, there is no institutional mechanism to regulate them. So there is no regulatory body. So some have good quality too, some are not working up to the mark. So there is need for regulation in this domain also. So these are the points put forth. So this you can see, to improve nutrition and health status of children 0 to 6 years age group, and also it takes care of early childhood education. So this was basically to reduce maternal mortality and infant mortality rates, Integrated Child Development Services. So it undertakes all such provisions. This is regarding the early childhood education, how it happens by gender and by location. So this is these many percentage, 38.7% go to Anganwadis, 30.7% go to private schools, nurseries, and these many 27.1% are not attending. So everybody does not, all parents and guardians do not enroll their ward in such pre-primary educational institutions too. So this is that breakup, and this is breakup by boys and girls. So that is a little variation is there in terms of boys and girls. How many attending and not attending can be seen here. Girls is a little more than boys in not attending. And this is regarding the mothers who know about ICDS scheme and who don't know. So that is shown. Around 50% only know about ICDS scheme as such, which is present. Then the next article is Trade deficit widens in November to $13 billion. So what is trade deficit? Deficit means in trade, that is imports and exports. We have more of imports than exports. So in that case, we have a deficit. So we are paying up more for the imports and getting less in terms of exports, in terms of value. So this trade deficit has increased in November 2016 as compared to year-on-year basis too, and even as compared to previous month. So from 10.41 billion gap, now it has become $13 billion in a month. So imports, the rate of increase in imports is also high. Import rate growth rate has also increased, and exports have also increased. So that is also positive growth, but imports have grown at a much faster pace. So that's why they outpace it. So it's 10.4% growth in imports and 2.29% growth in exports. So that's why the trade deficit has widened. Gold imports have gone drastically high in this month. Even last month they had more than double than the previous time. Also oil imports, iron ore imports, non-oil imports all have soared. The exports also have grown except in gems and jewelry, which have shrunk, and also garments, ready-made garments have shrunk. So we should know a little about what composes this India's exports and imports. A general idea is given here that what do we import. First we'll see what we import. So these are the imports. Crude oil, a major chunk of imports. Electronics, gold import is a lot. So gems and jewelry are exported, and gold is imported on a huge basis. So this is raw material gold. Jewelry, stones are imported, machinery, you can see. So these are the imports, and this comprises the exports. So you can see major exports are even petro products. So refined, after oil, crude oil is imported, even they are processed, and petro products are exported as well. So this is an export here major. Then gems and jewelry exported, transport, machinery. So these are export commodities. Then the next news item, finally last one, is artificial intelligence creeps into everyday life everywhere. So this is regarding various initiatives which have been taken by various multinational companies. Like Amazon has initiated this Echo Speaker, this device Echo Speaker, which links a personal assistant. This is Alexa, is a personal assistant which can answer questions and control connected devices. So how various devices can be controlled by one system, this is Alexa assistant, is through this Echo Speaker. So this is artificial intelligence, at which appliances need to be switched on, off, controlled. That all is taken care of through this. So that is artificial intelligence. So presence of people or not, considering that, it takes the decisions. Google is developing a smartphone. So it has this smartphone in it, which it has this Allo Messenger. So Allo Messenger can suggest what message needs to be delivered, what relevant information will the conversation take place forward, what will be the conversation. So all this is learned. So this is called artificial intelligence, that over a period of time, through this learning traits, the smartphone or this device which is there knows what should be the next response. So these are initiatives towards artificial intelligence. The next is regarding Apple, this Siri digital assistant. Even Facebook's Messenger platform is developing this artificial intelligence initiative so that it can predict and it can function independently what needs to be done. Then another one put forth is regarding the, which is much in news, regarding the without driver free vehicles. So these vehicles which have been developed by Google, Uber, these are also in the same direction, that artificial intelligence is used. So artificial intelligence can develop self-driving cars like this. It can function in hospitals, railway stations, even monitoring patients. So it can all have various benefits. But then there is requirement of even social aspect to be taken into consideration, because these are robots functioning. So robots can undertake intelligence, artificial intelligence, but they should understand the social norms, behavior which are allowed and not allowed. Like an example is also given, that you need to catch a train. So most efficient path is selected. But if then through that path, if there's a group of people standing and conversing, the robot cannot just pass through in between them. That is against the social conduct and behavior norms. So that aspect needs to be studied as well. So there are various aspects which need to be taken into consideration, which the robot needs to learn, and then artificial intelligence develops. So this is shown here. This is making computers do things that require intelligence. So the various aspects which are part of intelligence are this, like able to interact, So that aspect is developed. Reasoning planning, so there's complete programming how reasoning would take place, in what cases what actions need to be taken. So this whole detailed reasoning and planning can be undertaken. Learning and adaptation, that is the most important part in artificial intelligence, that they learn and they adapt. So that is development, the thinking same as humans, which can take place in robots. So we are moving towards a world of artificial intelligence. So these are the news items for today. Thank you.